How much of your life is directly affected by your ability to communicate? I think I'm going to be so bold to say all of it. Every relationship we have, the depth of that relationship is directly related by our ability to communicate. Our family environment, marriage, friends, all these things directly affected by how well and how intentionally we communicate. In many cases, the successes we have in our career and work life is directly affected by how well we communicate. In most areas of life, the top of our communication ability level caps us where our success levels end up being. The good news is you can absolutely become a better communicator. I think it's a misnomer to say that someone's naturally gifted in communication, because I've seen so many people that when they see the need and they see, wow, I need to get better at this, they take it seriously, they practice, they assess, they grow, they improve, and they're better communicators. And I've seen the exact same thing happen in my life too. So I just want to encourage you that thinking about how you communicate, practicing how you communicate, and then improving how you communicate is absolutely possible. So let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Diane. I've spent my entire career, which is now starting to be a rather lengthy one, in communications. With this YouTube channel, I've been working to help others who are mainly in the 40 and above category to share what they know to impact others for good and hopefully earn some income along the way. But this message about improving our communication skills is attainable and absolutely necessary for, I think, everyone. I've got 5 easy to understand tips that I think can really help. So let's dive in. We're going to start and count down from number 5. When we have complex and tough things to communicate, we have to be intentional about making them simple to understand. Don't be sucked in by the attraction of somehow being impressive by the big things that you communicate. The goal isn't to impress, it's to connect. And we have to remember that even though something might seem completely clear and obvious to us, it very well is not that way with the person that we're communicating with. Don't assume that they know what we're talking about. Don't even assume that they know the terms that we're using to explain it. It's always the best route to use simple, easy to explain language that hopefully is easy to understand. Then it's great to toss in stories and examples to kind of help it be more understandable and the person can get a bigger picture of what you're talking about. And always remember, take what's complicated and bring it down in that complication level so that it can be easily understood as you talk about it. Keep it simple. That's always best. Number 4, axe the audio clutter. Let's face it, we're probably not even aware of all the times that we fill in with these filler sounds because we want to figure out what we're saying, but we need something to fill the space. Or maybe we feel better when we choose actual words to do that, like, and actually, and maybe, and and so. So is my big one. I think I fall on that way too much. As with most things, awareness is the first step to get to know how much we do it. And then that helps us to be able to understand when we're likely to be tossing in those words, when we may not be realizing it, and it just clutters up what we're trying to say. One way to get a clearer picture of how frequently we kind of depend on these filler words is to do what's called a simple auditory review. Now, if you're recording to make a YouTube video or to record a podcast, it's easy because there, you've got your fresh material right in front of you. But if you don't do that, maybe you just turn on your phone and record yourself just kind of talking through a simple thought. And sure, you're going to be aware of it, but, probably the longer you go and talking about it, you're going to toss in more of those things like I just did there saying, So maybe just listen and don't watch yourself, but listen, tune in, listen to when you're throwing those words in. And it can help you just kind of have the discipline to start tightening it up. I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of all of it. It might sound really weird and too formal if you never toss anything like that. But you want it to sound natural, but not sound cluttered. And when we throw in all these auditory clutter words, it kind of just leads people to not take us so seriously because they kind of think that we just depend on that more than what we're saying. We want to be taken seriously, so let's axe the audio clutter. Number 3. Communicating is all about the other person. Oh, I hope they like me. Did it make sense what I had to say? Do I sound like I know what I'm talking about? Communicating is not about me. We have to get over ourselves when we're communicating. Now, when we're sharing something like on a podcast or in a video like I'm doing now, I think it's easy to push past the nerves and to get past the self-focus by concentrating on the fact that you're sharing something that you're really hoping is beneficial for the person who's listening. I hope I'm sharing something that's actually helpful for you. So that helps me get my head out of me and onto you, my listener, and concentrate on you as being the most important part of this communication. Because you are. Now, when we're having a simple communication, hold in the highest regard the need and the intent to simply understand what the other person is trying to tell you. You thought I was going to say, to make sure they understand you. When they're talking to you, don't be busy coming up with what your response is going to be in your head and not be actually listening to them. Then, when it is your turn to speak, choose those simple words, communicate in a way that you think that the person who you're talking to is going to actually understand what you say, and really benefit from the idea that you took the time and the opportunity and the intention to understand what you're being told and to speak in a way that hopefully is clear and helpful. Too fast? Bad. Too slow? Also not good. Just feel comfortable and find that beautiful middle ground, that average speed that feels natural to you and sounds natural to your listener. When you're more relaxed when you're speaking, if you can get those nerves in tow, whether you're speaking on camera, speaking to a group, or speaking to a person, when you feel more relaxed, you're going to speak at a more easily understood rate. Now, here's a little extra tip with speed. Drama and power with communicating can absolutely be accentuated with a powerful pause. Not an awkward pause that makes everybody wonder why you all of a sudden stop talking, but a powerful pause where you accentuate maybe a big point, or you're saying something that's pretty important and you're like, I want to give them an extra second to kind of think about that and take it in. All these dramatic pauses really help to drive home something and make your listener consume in a deeper way what you just said. And it's just easy. It's a particular pause, but you time it right. And you don't use it too much, but you give the person a little extra time to ponder what you just said. It's really powerful. All right, we finally made it to number 1, and I left it for the end because honestly, I think it's the most important. Read. Even if you don't like to read, read. I'm a reader. I like books. I read. I think people who communicate well tend to read a lot because it brings in language in a different way in your brain rather than just listening in conversation or even just listening to YouTube videos and having that type of input come in. Reading is visual. It changes your brain in a different way. You look at the language differently. You look at the word use differently. You look at the phrasing differently, and you think about it and you like, I like that, or that's weird. And you just kind of add to your communications arsenal that way. And I don't know that it truly matters what you read, fiction or nonfiction. Honestly, I am not a big fiction reader. I never have been for whatever reason. I just like to read nonfiction. But I know that the times when I push myself to read a fiction book, I'm often like, oh, that's different, or okay, and it's maybe a little bit more lyrical than what I read when I'm reading a biography or like a self-improvement book at personal growth. I encourage you to maybe broaden your horizon of what you would normally read and pick something that's in a very different category and enjoy it, but also take in just the different communication style in it too, because it really helps you to broaden your thought on that. Now, I know that I can't tell you to read without giving you a few book recommendations because that's what I always do. So number 1, I have 2. Number 1 is Charles Duhigg's Super Communicators. You're not going to get better than that title for a video that's encouraging you to improve your communication. Excellent book, especially on the idea of making sure that the person on the other side of your communication is really understanding what you're trying to say and that they're the number 1 aspect of it. This has really helped me to clarify my understanding on that, plus so many other good points. He's an excellent writer, and I think the points he have here can be super valuable for you. And number 2, one of my favorite authors always is John Maxwell. Leadership, communication, intentionality, all the things that I think are so important for us to be able to think about and grow in. He covers so many of them. But this book, The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication, I think will really help you to grow in your communication skills. This does focus a lot on public speaking, but so much of this translates very well into podcasting and making YouTube videos, and then also just general conversation stuff. Truly worth your time to be able to read it. Both of these books, I have links down below, and I just really think that these two books alone will really help to skyrocket your communication skills. All right, 5 tips that I really hope are easy to understand and easy to implement. If you take some time and put some thought into at least a few of these tomorrow and the next week and in this next time frame, I think you're going to see a change start, and hopefully you're able to implement them all and just really grow in your communication skills. You can do it. So if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel, or if you have one and you're trying to grow it, I have some resources that I think can help you. I have a video that I've recently done on how to feel more comfortable on camera. I know it can really just be tough when you know exactly what you want to say, but you sit down and you hit record and then it's like, ugh, everything's out the window. There are definitely some things we can do to help with that. And then I've been building an entire playlist on how to succeed on YouTube over the age of 40. I think there's some valuable resources in there if it's something you're considering. I'm so impressed by the idea that people who are in, especially age 40 and above, I speak as a proud Gen Xer myself, have really valuable things to share, and I think that YouTube is an excellent platform to do it. So I hope they're helpful to you. I'd love to see you next time. Please subscribe, like this video, and we'll keep communicating.